Hey, hello and welcome everybody live on LinkedIn and YouTube. And welcome if you watch the recording to our show. Welcome, Team Phoenix. Today our guest is Philipp Schöne. He's MuleSoft sales engineering leader, right? Your team lead for, you will tell us more about the people. I know Philipp, for a long time already now. So we met each other when we worked together at MuleSoft for the German or DACH area, how we say it. And Philipp is a phenomenal leader. He's very charismatic. He cares. He really cares, right? So I can tell. And welcome to our show, Philipp. And maybe you want to introduce yourself quickly. Something more you want to say?
Yeah, sure. First, thank you very much for the invite. My name is Philipp. I'm coming directly here from my home office. That's been the place where I've been working on since, I don't know, the last 6 years. So I'm a remote worker. I lead part of the German presets organization for MuleSoft. And actually we run into each other in, I think, November, December, now close to 4 years, when I signed with MuleSoft, and we had the first conversation. I still remember it felt a little bit weird because we had a lot of similarities that we are probably going to share on this call, probably not. But looking forward to today's conversation, and thanks again for the invite.
Yeah, it's getting more weirder because there was a third person also, right? That was very close to us. So at least when it comes to two daughters in exactly the same age, for example, right? Welcome. And you said you're in the home office. That's actually the first question, right? When we talk about social media, like we do now, right? We present ourselves, we present our studios, offices. What did you do to improve your office? Because I think this looks good, what you have there, right? It looks very, when I think I'm a client, I join your meeting, I feel comfortable joining you. So did you do something special to improve or update your environment there, your backdrop?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So when COVID started, then I started to redecorate a little bit. So when I joined, I had a whiteboard over there, which I used to whiteboard on. And the challenge with that is that my lighting situation is not as ideal. So I moved it around, and I'm using more virtual whiteboard tools these days. And I upgraded the webcam. It was a little bit tough to get a proper one. It's obviously not as great as your studio equipment that you have, but I think it's still okay. Then I have front lighting by Elgato, lights up my face, and then there is stuff for people to look at, right? I mean, I'm just a pure SE sitting here, and then there is stuff for people to look at. So that's a picture of the Northern Sea, where I like to go to very often. Then there is some books, the globos that you see, and other stuff. So there is like a little bit visual distraction for the people, if you like. And and for the summertime, I have 2 windows here. There is shades in place that I can control the light situation. So that was part of my challenge. Something that you can see where I'm working for. So there is a MuleSoft banner behind me, and Salesforce actually provided some material as well. So doing my thing from my place, that's my motto. So I'm doing the thing from my place. And now it's called a success from anywhere. And I found that a little bit, I was smiling when I heard that Salesforce is going with that logo, because I was working in that mode for quite some time already.
Yeah, we in DACH for MuleSoft, right? We had this challenge. There was a long time, maybe in one office very far away from all of us. So that's very fun. My wife always says, don't put too much thing in the background because people will be distracted. But you want this, that's great. And one more question to your employer. Did you also get like a camera? Did they pay for that? Or how does Salesforce handle that?
So when COVID hit, we got some support to do a proper office setup, and it was up to everybody how we would spend it. For all the remote employees, there is support every, I think, 2 or 3 years with a certain budget to invest into, and then there is like, the PC or the Mac that comes is standard office equipment. But I think if you want to have a proper experience, you need to invest a little bit more than what the company provides, and that's fair. Like if you would travel and you would have a proper bag, a little bit more than the usual backpack that you get from all the companies, that's worth an investment. Like it's like a suitcase. And if you work with your stuff every day, I think it's worth spending probably $1 here or there more to up level the experience in general, because it's an investment in yourself. And we all have to recognize that a lot of people are working on this, right? So the virtual world is a reality, and we have to, as SEs, we have to think about how we can be memorable to people.
Yes.
Yeah? And what I try to do with the scenery here is that everybody can recognize that I'm not in an office, but it still looks somehow professional. So it's a mix of, hey, this is Philipp's office, and it has some corporate aspects, but there is still the human touch to it. So somebody's living here actually, and yes, I'm living here. 8 hours, probably sometimes 10, sometimes less, but yes, there is a human person behind a corporate background.
There's one question I got into my mind when you explained this. Before COVID, would you have thought that you would post like images of your home on LinkedIn, for example? No. Because now we have those team screenshots, right? So you see from everybody, you see the backgrounds.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that's I think that's scary for some people, but it has become the reality for all of us. And no, I wouldn't have thought that we would do that, even though a lot of people were doing whatever private pictures on Instagram, Facebook anyway. So but no. If you would have asked me 3 years ago, I would have said, why?
Oh, great. So, and I already consider this social media, right? What you do right here, like you go live in your office, right? For example, and you show this to customers, right? This is all on the social page because you're very approachable. I have the feeling I'm in your home, right? And this makes it very compelling in your home office in that sense. But there's a thing that I ask always first. We're talking about social media. You're using this, that's why you're here, right? So you have something to say. But what do you think is a big myth about social media that people are being told?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of myths around, but there is one big misconception. And the biggest misconception that I'm seeing right now is that even though people are using, like I said, Facebook and Instagram to as a private utility to be connected with their private networks, not everybody is using LinkedIn to the same extent. And then on the other hand, you have the enterprises, the companies who kind of try to motivate people to use social media, whatever that means, but nobody's explaining how to do that. And there is, in fact, relatively low enablement for the teams how to do that in a proper way. And that's why I think there is a little bit of a challenge right now. That's where we also at the same time have an opportunity. I have an opportunity to explain it to my team, share the experiences with you and the people live in the stream here, that we talk about it, because it's not given that you wake up tomorrow morning and you know how to utilize that to the best extent. And that's probably a good segue for the book that you wrote, because that actually answers some of the questions and helps people to enter the space. So in summary, I think the biggest myth is, yeah, we need to use it for selling and it's going to help us, but nobody knows exactly how to do that.
Yeah, we're all on the learning path.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's great. But some people seem to be natural on it, right? So there seem to be naturals where you think, oh, I don't know, 20K followers. How does this person manage this? No posts, really, right? No good content. What's going on there? Is this fake, or what do you think about this? Or do you try to reach followers? So what's your approach there?
So it depends a little bit what you are trying to achieve. In the SE world, there are a lot of people who are looking for, I would say, is it called fame or like exposure,
reputation,
probably reputation, and then followers are currency in a way, right? So some people say, oh, I mean, I have, like I said, 10K, 5K followers, and they trade it as a currency when they look for a new job or when they talk with other people, right? Because they have a certain influence when they distribute content. So that's one way to look at it. The other way, and that's probably more towards how I use it, I try to leverage it with a mix. So I look at it from the perspective of building out my network in a way that I connect with previous clients, potential new teammates, because hiring is another topic I'm trying to use social media for. And by the way, if you're looking for an SE job in Germany, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, please work with Philipp. I only can recommend this. He will give you an environment where you can really thrive. I can only testify this.
Thank you very much. And then the third one is actually is distribution of information about our products, the things that I feel are interesting and valuable. So because not everybody is into all these various sources of information. Not everybody is following all the analysts at Gartner or reading the latest white papers and stuff. And that sometimes that's probably called thought leadership, but it's not that I'm creating this content. I'm probably augmenting this content and then redistributing it in some ways. And that's something that might be usable for you.
Hey, Steffen, good to see you. So Steffen is also telling that you should work with Philipp. So very cool.
Thank you, Steffen.
So, but this means you actually, so when we look at the market, right? Today is being said, buyers are already, they know what they buy, right? And they are very informed. What is it that your posts give on top? So do you try to get leads? Do you try to get into contact? Do you try to get meetings? Or what's the reason for you posting then?
I mean, it has to do with also establishing a certain reputation and understanding about, or giving the other person an idea about that I understand the market, that I'm not only looking after my product, that I also have a view that's a little bit wider than just MuleSoft or Salesforce in general, and that I recognize other trends in the market. And I think that's quite important for people to utilize this, because I see a lot of people who are just reposting content that is prepared for them. Because that's usually and I do that too. I mean, I confess I do that too in some cases.
I confess, very nice.
It's I mean, because it's
like a sin. It's not a sin, right? It's just not very effective.
Yeah, exactly. And I certainly see that some people just do it. Yeah, and I think it's about the mix. If the only content that you distribute is stuff that somebody prepared for you from the marketing department, there is no personal flavor, then the value is very low. And I also think you are probably also downgrading your value, because the content can be looked up online on a news feed on your corporate website. There is no leverage on you redistributing something that 20 other people redistribute. Yeah.
Do you sometimes think about doing a special demo, so just recording something? Would this be allowed from the rules of your company in terms of social media? Would they allow that you say, okay, I go on my own, I take my nice webcam, I record a video of myself demoing something because I think it should be represented this way?
Oh yes. Oh yes, absolutely. We probably don't do it too much, but yes, it would be allowed. I mean, there is certainly features which need to have a certain, I would say, small text before, so the safe harbor statement and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think in general, yes. Why not? I mean, this is what you do with a customer in the second or third meeting, probably. Yeah, somebody asks you a question: how would you solve problem X or Y? So in our space, it's like, how do you design an API? And I mean, there is probably already content on YouTube, but if people want me to have me explaining it in my way, I can do that too, and that would be completely fine for the rest of my team to do that too. So I would say yes.
That's cool.
It would be okay.
That's cool. And there's a question I asked Kyle too last week. So I have this vision of SEs having this great profile on, say, LinkedIn or a blog or whatever, a vlog, whatever it is, right, or a live stream, and where they express their professional opinion about the industry or even the product, can be. So, and then there's the AE, so the account executive in that case, early in the prospect or in the deal cycle, talking to the prospect. And in the first meeting, the AE says, well, next week you will meet the expert Philipp Schöne. I urge you to look him up on LinkedIn before. So because the AE is sure it's curated, right? So there will be content and they will understand you, see you, feel you before you enter the meeting. What do you think about that?
I think it's a great concept. It's a little bit like the business card, right? So in the past, you had this paper type business cards that you hand over to people, and it's like this: I have a gift for you. There was a physical action to hand it over. And I've been, in my early days, I was a lot in China. So giving a business card to somebody was actually a ceremony. Yeah.
Okay.
So you had to, when somebody gives you a business card, you have to look at it and you take some time to, you have to take some time to read what's on it. Yeah. And if you take that analogy, I think LinkedIn could be, or your social media profile could be a similar thing. We are probably not there yet. Because of some of the stuff that we explained just earlier. Some people say, LinkedIn, it's just full of reposted content. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for people who have a very strong social media presence with real valued content that it could be helpful. Are we there yet? No. I wouldn't say so. In some cases, people recognize you, and they say, "Oh, okay, I might have seen that person," or "Oh, that's something. That's a concept you posted about a couple of weeks or months back." Those things happen, but it's not that it happens like every second week. I don't see that happen yet. So it shows a little bit probably the maturity where we are in with the social media and the usage of social media in the selling process.
And so looking at your team, right? You have a team. When you speak with them about social media, what are the opinions, right? I can believe that there might be people who say, yes, I want to be better or become better. And there might be the ones who say, well, this is all scam. I will never do this. So is it in between, or is it the extremes?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the team that we have here. So I'm not talking about only my group. So In my group, we have 7 overall for Central, which is Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and some countries in Eastern Europe, is around 20. So we are around 20-ish people. And if you have 20-ish people, there is always bandwidth in terms of opinions, and that's fine. And that's absolutely what we want on the team. We want variety in terms of opinions. And we have some people on our team who are social media rock stars. That's absolutely for sure. Content creators like I will probably never be. And then there are others who say like, LinkedIn? Not for me. They are the other end of the spectrum. And then you have all varieties in between. And I think this kind of reflects also the way how presets is. Presets pretty broad. Yeah. And there is not this kind of, this is the presets person. So we in the team alone have 3 different roles. We have architects who are more talking to C-level people, are more on a higher level, talk about the higher level value proposition. Then we have people who have a lot of contact with customers and potential clients. And then we have techies. Yeah, I call them techies, and that's not in a bad way. I mean, they are the experts for the product and very specific challenges that technology brings in some cases. Yeah, on both sides, in our product, but also with the customer systems that we have to integrate with. And depending on which role you have, there might be different ways how you want to express yourself. The technologist might be more on, I want to talk about technology content. I want to talk about how specifically you need to set up MuleSoft in combination with Kafka, and if you have high loads, those type of things. And the architect might be a little bit around, I have content that is for domain-driven design, and how do you decomposite the monolith and stuff like that, and how do you reach the integration nirvana in some ways. So there is variety, and that's the same for opinion on social media.
I sometimes perceive a contradiction, and please, when you listen, just ask questions too, right? We are watching the comments whenever there's something we would love to answer. So feel welcome. So I sometimes think there's a contradiction. They're very bright people, maybe like you say, a techie or even an architect, right? But people who see a lot, achieved a lot, and have a deep understanding, right? And they say maybe social media is a scam. And I'm always sad because I think they could change that, right? They have the deep understanding to really go out and say, this is how stuff works. So everybody shut up, right? I find this just amazing how things sometimes play out, right?
Yeah, I think there is a certain, and that's probably a myth, there is also misconception about social media, and that's the fear of losing their own value or losing their insight that they carry. Yeah, because this idea of protectionism. Yeah, I keep the ideas to myself.
Yeah. And there's actually a question. Sorry, Philipp.
Yes.
Hold the thought. There's a question exactly about that from Shiran Jevi. What's your way of resolving this contradiction? Yeah. Do you have an idea? How could I come over myself, above myself to get out there?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit like with the invite to this live session, right? So when you invited me, I was scared, to be honest. I was scared. I didn't know what was coming to me. So I was like, okay, if it feels a little bit uncomfortable, just do it.
Yeah, I love this quote. I love to quote you with that.
And that's something that is the best way. And then
maybe just a tip. Maybe the focus comes. It doesn't do it. Now, The War of Art, Steven Pressfield.
Okay, never read that.
It talks about the resistance exactly for that. It's more for art. So posting is art in some ways. So to drive this out, this is a very nice book. It's read very quick, and it's highly motivating, and it explains why you don't do that. it literally tells you. I won't spoil it. Read this,
Okay.
and of course, go for this, right? So hopefully, it's motivating too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think one
Thanks,
one
Steffen.
fear one fear we can take away from people, and that's the fear of somebody criticizing you. That's actually the best thing that can happen to you on social media, because in a lot of cases, people just give praise, and that's great. So you get a lot of good feedback. The biggest negative feedback that you get is actually when people don't look at your stuff that you produce.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest negative feedback that you can get. And you will learn that very early when you start with social media, that it can be very empty. Yeah? It could be that not too many people look at your posts. And to overcome that challenge, that's actually the real challenge, where you need to start building habits. And then over time, you will improve. And that's what the books could probably help you with. Yeah.
Yeah, they can be mentors. What are your habits to overcome this challenge?
What
Do
are
you
my
have
habits?
some? Yeah.
Yes, I do. In fact, I have a couple of very technical things that I have set up to take in information. So I use Google Alerts for all types of topics that I'm interested in. I spend time reading RSS feeds. Yeah, so kind of old school, but there are a couple of websites that still expose this information. Programmable Web, for example, does this. So everything related to APIs, you can read on Programmable Web or other news sources that are relevant. Even the Heise group still exposes IT information on a news feed. And that's what I do to take in information. And then you can...
It's idea generation in that sense. This is where ideas...
Yeah, and then also in information taken, because if you consider yourself, I'm sitting in enterprise and the enterprise needs to serve me with information, that's probably going to happen, but you get it filtered, right? So if you want to widen the aperture a little bit, it makes sense to look on the left and right, and this RSS feed and the alerts are actually proactive triggers that I get to look at this. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing is I'm taking some of the events that are happening in my space and trying to share them if they are interesting. And I reserve time in the schedule to do this. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour to think about a post, or just look at, okay, what can I give to my network this week, and what could be relevant for them, right?
So you think in value. And do you have actually, I saw you one time, this was amazing, and I want to talk about recruiting too. I saw this one day, I think you designed this yourself, like a mule with an Austrian flag. Yeah. What tools do you use to modify images, or how do you get to that content? So just for the listeners or viewers, just some tools that you use that are useful.
Yeah, so I try to use a very low level set of tools. The image you talked about was for a job position that is still open in Austria, and I use a tool called Canva, canva.com. I can highly recommend that. And they have it's an online image editing service, and they have a lot of themes. So I'm a very visual person, and they have a lot of things they give to you for free, and you can also subscribe, and then you get a more detailed images with more modification possibilities. And I like to build images that are grabbers or eye catchers, where people say like, "Oh, what's that? What's that about?" And usually that's my learning. Those images, if you spend proper time on selecting the images, then those posts are usually giving you a lot of good responses. So one post that I did a long time ago was actually from a trip that we did with the team, and we went on a sailing tour. And I have a picture where you see the boat and you see part of the team in the background, kind of a little bit shallow, and you see myself. And I took this as a selfie, and I used it to ask, are you thinking about setting your course to a new direction?
Nice.
And there were a lot of people who clicked on the image and on the links because they got triggered by the picture, not because I was on the picture, but the scene itself. And it's so unusual because was not one of these images from image gallery somewhere.
Exactly.
It has a relation to what we do, and yeah. So that's definitely a tool. Try to look out for Canva. Gives you some easy tweaks to modify pictures, and then go around. I mean, you have your phone usually with you all the day. You can take pictures from all types of stuff and leverage them in a meaningful way. And
yeah. So what's your experience then? There are two questions now. So how long did it take you to make your post successful? So what you do now, and actually, what do you think works best in terms of content? Like you gave us one hint. Is there more, or do you follow a strategy?
No, there is for me personally, there is not that I have a clear laid out strategy. Again, I'm trying to go a little bit the visual route or the visual route. So that's one thing that I'm trying to leverage in a good way. Then I've started to comment more on posts that other people do. Good. So that's definitely also something so that people recognize, oh, it's not only he distributing, but also contributing. So that's definitely and meaningful comments, not just, hey, this is cool. And saying thank you. Sometimes it's just saying thank you or congratulating somebody to a new position or stuff like that. But it's like more than just pressing the, oh, I like button. So that's definitely one thing that I do, and I've recently tried an animated picture. So on LinkedIn, there is a lot of static content. There is not too much movements, and if you look at what's happening on Facebook and Instagram, like in the I would say private or more the non-business world, then there is a lot of movement. Yeah? There is a lot of action happening on the in the stream, and I think that's where LinkedIn will probably in 6 months, 12 months there will be a lot more animations and movements, and it will annoy a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, but it's going to happen anyways because the path is going to be taken.
Let's see what the LinkedIn algorithm does with GIFs, right? How did you create them? Do you have a specific tool?
No, I use Canva too.
Canva, okay.
Yeah, Canva.
You can do the animated images too.
Yes. So it
perfect.
It can do stuff like the background moves or just the foreground or the text moves or fades in and out. So it's actually quite easy to do. The other thing that I can recommend, if that doesn't work, is, I mean, most people still have PowerPoint, Google Slides, whatsoever.
Yeah.
You can build an animation. That's what people or pre-sales engineers do anyway, in a lot of cases. And we can simply record that. Yeah. Sometimes it's actually very easy to see, or even iMovie on the Mac. I'm always surprised what capabilities iMovie provides in terms of cutting small video sequences together and even images with some music. And those tools are for free, literally. They are for free.
Yeah. And it might even work better because then you have a native video on LinkedIn and not a GIF, which is...
Yeah, the cool thing with Canva is you can export. You can say, I want a GIF, I want an MP4. In the Pro plan, and I'm not getting any credits here. In the Pro plan, you even have a social media planner. I didn't go for that one, so you can really build out a social media plan for multiple weeks in terms of content and stuff like that. So they really try to build out a complete product on that.
Yeah, and this is an interesting point. There's a whole industry around automating your posts, right? So you would upload this to a third-party tool and would put it on the calendar, and this pushes this out to LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, right? Does Canva automate this, and do you think about automation? Or do you know what LinkedIn thinks about automation?
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly sense the automation tools because there are a handful in the market, yeah, especially when it comes to, because the problem is not automated posting, not only automated posting. The problem is you recognize the way how the URLs are presented. So if you see SMARP or what's the other one? I mean, I don't want to discredit the companies because not a company fault, or Hootsuite. So you see, for the tracking purposes, people leverage these tools because they are getting internal credits. Yeah, inside the company, you get like, hey, 3-star social media ranger because you posted content that somebody created for you. Yeah,
Gamification.
Yeah,
nice.
An internal gamification aspect. But I mean, that's a very very short moment of fame, and it's not going to pay out on the long run for you. That's for sure.
Yeah. We too. I remember we always have and we recently spoke about this, and this is my next question. Actually, I want to guide a bit over there. When we talk about social media, right? So we usually talk about work-life balance and how misphrased this is, right? But we have the same issue on LinkedIn. How do you balance your personal brand and your professional brand, or do you see the distinction, or is there no border for you, or should there be no border? What do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So there are some unwritten rules for me. So I don't post private content on LinkedIn, full stop. Yeah.
How far goes private? Because maybe a picture with you on a yacht.
That's all. I would say that's in a business context, because it was a company trip and stuff like. And if something that is relevant for the business context happens when I'm privately driving to a friend of mine, I would post that too. Yeah, or if I meet with a partner, that's all business context. But it's not that I will post like this was my lunch dish and stuff like that. And because I don't think there is a certain interest of people to look at. Okay, this is what he just did. But the borders are very. Yeah, they can be moving, right? So we talked about books, for example, book recommendations. I was on vacation last week, and I purposely read no professional book at all. So I read a thriller. Yeah. Would I post this on LinkedIn? Yes, why not? Is this relevant for people? Probably. I have one person in the extended team which I follow who has posted book tips for a long time and was very impressed about the amount of books he was reading. If I consider this to be relevant for my brand and something that I think people should recognize me about, then yes, why not? If everybody should recognize me as the expert for lunches around the place where I live, yeah, then it probably makes sense to post a lot about lunch pictures. But I think it needs to be fitting towards the brand or the person that I'm representing, more or less. And in my role, it has a lot to do with APIs and integration. Sometimes it has to do with the hiring. Sometimes it has to do with my engagement for young kids in terms of IT or local organizations that I support.
Tell us more about you're doing charity work, right? Yes. Tell us more about this, and I think I saw some posts like women in IT. This is what you support. You did some charity speech, I think, in your local community. What's your driver, and how do you leverage this?
Yeah, so the real driver was a little bit. I was a little bit angry at some point, or dissatisfied. That's probably the right word. So as we have been building out with actually with myself and with the pre-sales world itself.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of if I look around, we have a lot of male. We have a lot of male pre-sales, and then you start to think about, okay, we definitely need to change that. That's for sure. I mean, white guys in white shirts. Yeah, that's not the environment we are living in, right? So there is a lot more. There is a lot more than just white guys talking about IT. And when you start to think about the problem itself, you realize that the problem starts very early, and it's not a pre-sales problem itself. It's a problem of the entire IT industry, in fact. Yeah, if you look at the numbers in terms of how many students actually female, then you will be very surprised. It's very low. I think it has even gone down in COVID, especially for Germany. So if we want to fundamentally change the amount of female people in the IT world, independent if it's pre-sales, development, whatsoever, we need to start from the very, very, very early stages to open the doors, make it transparent that finding a job in IT is possible, that it's worth investing into this and building a career in IT. And that's why I started to work with a local charity or organization that is focusing on young female or young kids, female kids, and giving them just exposure to industries or to learning opportunities. So we have done things like hacking schools where we just developed the website, or a speech around tips around how to file a CV or what to consider when you think about building out a career, and that's all voluntary work. I'm fortunate enough that Salesforce supports this and also provides me with the opportunity to donate my time, my working time, but I also do this on the weekends. So some of the stuff is happening on the weekends, and that's my free time that I'm investing. And I hope that's the thing that I can give back to make the industry a better place. It sounds very pathetic, but in a way that's part of our job, right?
Yeah, it is. And the girls, women, I know from the past in pre-sales, they always overachieved, right? They had a different approach to pre-sales, to sales engineering, and it was always refreshing. I thought the clients loved that, right? And it's simply amazing to watch them do things differently than we guys would do. Right? It's so please be brave, right? Do it. Like go to Philipp, contact him. Do you get actually this feeds into the question I have in general? Does it help you in recruitment? So do you get girls, women who say, "Hey, Philipp, can I try out sales engineering maybe at Salesforce or in your team?" And does it help that you post this? So do they come via the social platform?
Not to the extent that I like to. Actually. Okay. But I mean, come on, if 10% of the whole population in IT are female people, what should I expect? If we have 10 people on the team, that's probably one, and then I'm just having the industry average. So I need to invest more, and I will continue to invest more. And it's not only about the success of having more female people on the team. It's also about making others aware and having a conversation about it and saying like you ask, why do you do this? And it's like making other people aware that it's not okay, and that we need to start changing this. And it was not present to me for a long time. I didn't care. I really didn't care for quite a while. And now I think it's something that I could use my voice, my network on to make a difference.
Yeah. No, that's great. And thanks for being open on that one, right? So diversity is a big topic. And to be fair, it's not only women, right? It's every gender,
yes.
right?
Yes.
That's the point. Every gender, every whatever. The diversity is important. It's more and more important to every corporation. And it's so cool. I think I follow one sales engineer, and she posts very, very different things where I think it's great because she offers insights into another world for me, right? I just find this good, and it should happen more, right? So posting on this is a great point, and being present like you do is amazing, and it's even more amazing that your company allows this, right? And now looking a bit into people that get onto your team, right? You hire maybe somebody new, or I even saw you have kind of a sales engineering academy. Is this the right word? So inside sales engineers or something like that. What would you give those? What would be 3 tips from your side for those newcomers, for people who join, or maybe who change from a different field into sales engineering? What tip would you give them, or 3?
Yeah, so there are a couple of tips or things that I learned, and some things I had to learn the hard way. So one thing that I learned the hard way in the last 24 months, I would say, is it's not only about sitting in front of the PC. You need to really sometimes open the door, leave the building, and go for 30 minutes. If it's running, if it's walking, doesn't matter. But fresh air, free mind, sometimes music, sometimes a podcast, inspiration helps you to think differently. So that's one thing that everybody, independent of a sales engineer or not, could pick up. So that's definitely, I don't know if it's a pro tip, but it's something that people should definitely do. Then rehearsals. There was something I was not very into rehearsals when I joined presets. I was like, okay, I know the slides. Well, we wing it a little bit, or I know what I'm talking about. There is no way I need to prep this. Yeah, so I'm good enough. Yeah, there is no need for me to rehearse things, but it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. If you rehearse 2 times, 3 times, it's going to increase the effectiveness pretty dramatically, I would say. And that's definitely something that I haven't had on the radar before. So that's something for people to think of, especially when you join or when you try to go for a job. Because that's stuff that nobody's telling you, right? Everybody's saying you need to know the product. You need to demo the product in a good way. Okay, there is not tons of sources, but there are sources how to do a decent demo. But rehearsing what you want to say, try to explain it to somebody else who's not from the space. If they stare at you like if you're coming from Mars, then it's probably a good time to overhaul your talk track. So those things, that's where rehearsal can help you, right? And
it helps you remove text from the slides. That's another pro tip towards this. Remove text.
Sometimes that's a good one. I mean, to a certain extent, there might be 2 versions of a presentation that you would like to maintain. One thing that you would like to give away, which has text.
Exactly.
And the other one, which has just taglines or with specific words that you would like people to remember to look at. And then when you present, you will present a lot and you will sit a lot. And you might, I don't know if you recognize, I'm standing. So
Yes.
one of the best investments that you could do is
Me too.
get yourself a standing desk. Yeah, because if you're standing, you get more self-esteem, you get more confidence, you can talk freely, you can breathe, and it has a lot of impact on your presentation, on your appearance. Yeah. So if you're sitting in front of a PC and you try to click and it's all squeezed and that's very then there is the drop down menu. That's not great. So these are some things that are probably not really obvious, but they make a difference. They really make a difference.
Yeah. Especially for your clients, right? If you can transport energy because you can show your hands, your body, right? The standing is very important. Very good tips. Thanks for that.
Hands are an interesting one because I started to see that people watch YouTube movies on how to use your hands, and then you see the what's that called? The Trump instrument. It's like
the Ziehharmonika.
Yeah, the Ziehharmonika, because Mr. Trump did always this.
Ah.
Yeah, and that looks so weird. That looks so weird. So that's yeah, he did that all the time. It's big. I make out of a big problem, like a small problem, and I'm going to address it, and it's like people see this all the time. It's like super weird. If you look at it, it's like what is he doing? For what? And then if the gestures don't fit what you want to say, so it's going down, and you move the hand up. It's like what? Because your brain's like, no, he's pointing up, but he says something completely different. Your brain is easily able to spot these things in your subconscious mind. So be very careful with gestures, and that's probably where recordings and rehearsals help.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they look so. I think it looks so awkward. It looks so awkward.
Yeah, but there's the other thing about trust, right? We need to see more. So there are like sometimes people are just cut off, right? So half of the screen, or you see only half of the mouth because they sit in front of their laptops. That doesn't create a bond. In addition to the hands, this is important to create a bond, but in the online only world, I mean. So very valuable tips, actually. Yeah? So that's why your lighting is so perfect, and that you have a camera where people can see you, see your eyes. Very important. Otherwise, it's tough to get the energy across, right?
Yeah. Probably it's good to buy an external keyboard. That's actually a very cheap trip because if you put the Mac just in front of you and you stare at the camera because you will need to type, probably an external keyboard could be a quick fix. You push back the Mac quite a bit so that the camera appearance is good, and then you can use the external keyboard and mouse for presentations, and that could be an easy fix for some of the weird appearances, so that you see a little bit more than just the face.
Yeah. For you as a leader, as a sales engineering leader, how do you see the importance of those things we discussed, social media, your camera, you set up your equipment? How do you see this evolve? Say in the next two years might be enough, right? It can happen a lot in 2 years. How will things change? Will every SE need a social media presence?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yes, I think so. Yes, I deeply believe everybody will need to have a social media presence, at least in a sense that it's a presentable business card, which means there needs to be a proper image of you, there needs to be proper contact information about you, and people should be able to recognize what company you're working for, and probably also some of the skills that you have. Yeah, we can debate about how you get these skills listed, if it's you get endorsed by somebody or whatsoever. So I think the LinkedIn profile page is really like a business card, and that's at least the at least extent I would expect, and I think that's what can be expected of sales engineers.
in the software industry, right?
In the software industry, yes, correct.
Is internet based right now. Yeah.
Exactly, but if you talk with, I mean, look at your private life. If you engage with somebody and is visiting you, or you think about redoing your garden, for example, and you have 3 companies that are close by, what do you consider? Who do you consider to contact? Yeah, is it the guy who has a messed up yard, or is it the guy who has a pretty ordered yard, or is it the one which has a super polished yard? So you might contact all 3 because you want to see the price differences.
Yeah.
But in the end, and that's probably a German thing, you give the contract to the person in the middle, where it's not super polished, but it looks in order, because you expect that this is not completely messed up. And I think this principles can be translated to the social media world too, because it's completely real life perspectives, because that's how things just work. Right? If people look at an empty profile, it gets fishy. I mean, in the software industry, why? There is a picture where you cannot see the face, and it's like not really clear where he's been working on in the last 4 years. It's like, I mean, I start to think about, is he hiding, or what's wrong? Is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, probably it's not important, but I think in 2 years from now, I mean, you need to just have it, because it's also for if you think about changing your job role, that's where recruiters look at, right? That's the first thing they look at. They look at your profile, full stop.
Yeah.
That's simply reality already today.
Yeah. And I think what's going to happen is that there won't be a linear sales cycle in the future, right? It might be several entry points into a deal cycle. And one entry point will be, I'm pretty sure, a customer contacting an expert of the product. So, and if you have no hooks, like maybe a bit of book recommendation or something like that, something that another person can get a relation to you, right? So that they can state something obvious from your profile that you offer, then it will be tough, right? Then they will directly go to the competitor where the sales engineers offer this easy access, like where the profile says, yes, I'm open, contact me, please now. Here, I'm the expert, here is my information, this is what I am as a person, right? And I think this will happen, yeah, more and more. So it's a big differentiation. Be out there and be nice, right? Be approachable. I think this is sometimes what I know I'm also kind of introvert in some way, in some weird way. And I didn't get that people want to approach me, right? Mm-hmm. It took some time. And by offering some information about me, it's far easier for them to approach me. Yeah. And that's something that I think pre-sales might forget. Because it's their nature, right?
We can be scary at times, that's for sure. Yeah. And sometimes we are. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So one thing that, independent if the sales cycle will be linear or not, is people will try to contact you, or they will try to search information. They do it today already. So if you follow the studies of McKinsey and IDG, and you name the analysts that they look at B2B buying processes, they say customers research already try to research 70% of the information online already. And social media is an integral part, because the search engines display profiles who fit if you have appropriate content on them. I don't think the pre-sales will be the only way people will look at. So it's something that's actually, it's a call for the entire industry. So the sales engineers are just leading a little bit, and in the last years, pre-sales has gained a lot more traction and has received a lot more thought, and got a little bit more importance. But I'm pretty sure the sales teams will also pick up on that at some point. They will try to fight for their space and for
To be fair, there are some good account executives that do that. They are there, and of course there are some pre-sales, right? But it's the majority that doesn't do it. I think. Time is actually over, but I want to ask you one last question, and it's personal. I want to know 2 hacks or tips from maybe a bit more private, right? Whatever, your trading tip, your stock I should invest in, or how to change diapers best, I don't know. But do you have 2 hacks for me?
2 hacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 hacks.
2 life hacks.
2 life hacks. So one life hack is actually to do with a gadget that I bought. So I forget about stuff. So we talked about getting outside for 30 minutes for a walk, and it happens to me quite often that I forget the key at home because I'm thinking about other stuff in the morning. And one gadget or one life hack is get yourself an electronic lock. So I invested in an electronic lock which I can use to open the door to my house with, and that has saved me my life already a couple of times, because I then need to go to the neighbors and ring and ask, hey, can you give me the deposit?
The neighbors, is this a hack also?
Yeah, that's the second hack. Don't tell anybody. My neighbors have a key to my house too. I'm not going to tell you which neighbors, because there are a lot of neighbors around, but some neighbors have, the trusted ones. That's the other hack if you don't want to invest into an electronic lock. But there is a catch. You need to be mindful about who you give it to and when they are at home, when they are around. Because if they leave 7 o'clock for work and you are outside 8:30, then you have a problem. So probably the grandma in your street is a good place, not only for coffee and a piece of very nice cakes and biscuits, but also a trustful person you can give the key to in case you lock yourself out.
Yeah. And then you give the grandma your funds, and she will do some value investment for you. Thanks, Shiran, for your tip, right?
Yeah, no investment tips from me today. I don't think that's the appropriate place.
Yeah, who knows? Could have been. Thanks a lot, Philipp, for your time. It was, the hour went by. I didn't realize, right? So it's 1 hour over. Thank you so much. Any last words you want to tell us?
Yes, thanks to everybody who tuned in. Thanks to those who are watching the recording. Thanks, Patrick, for organizing this. I think it's a cool idea, especially with these lives, because it exposes the people. Yeah, I got scared. People asking you live questions is a complete different experience than with pre-recorded slides and stuff like that. So it's really cool, and I think it helps to see the people also behind their jobs, the people behind the profile, probably, if you will. And thanks again for organizing that.
Yeah. So everyone, please join. So start your journey on social media, right? Philipp has showed us inspiring tips and tricks. So let's go. And thanks for everybody who watched the recording. Thanks for everybody who was here and asked questions. See you soon next week. Next week. I want to, yes, that's a good thing. Next week, we will have here, if you know, Don Carmichael. He is the pre-sales guru from the UK. And we will have, at the same time, Bob Riefstahl, who actually wrote Demo to Win. And we will talk about if sales engineers should be entertainers and actors. Highly emotional topic. You're very welcome to join. It will be live again, a bit earlier than today. But please find the event on LinkedIn and follow. And you can also follow our YouTube channel. So follow this little guy here, right? The little phoenix. That was it for today. Over and out. And yeah, have a good one.